back to Just Energy Radio with Dr. Rita Louise.
Hello and welcome back to Just Energy Radio. I'm Dr. Rita Louise, and thank you all for staying tuned to the show. So we just lost the guest, so I'm going to try calling her back, and let's see if she is going to pick up the line.
Magic Deck. The number you have dialed is not currently a working number.
Okay, well, that's not cool. Okay, so I guess I'm just going to talk to you here for a minute while I figure out what's going on. Anyway, so wasn't that interesting what we were talking about with Michelle? I mean, I don't know about you, but the 25th, I'm not so sure I want to be hanging around outside or, as she was saying, touching knives or doing anything like that.
Suzanne Scurlock, Durana.
Hi, Suzanne. You're live on the air. How are you?
Hi. Wonderful. How are you, Rita Louise?
I am doing wonderful. I guess I dialed the number wrong, and it came up, Magic Jack is not working, and I'm like, okay, that's
what?
Good. I don't know. Okay, so, shh, because we're live. Let me introduce you.
Okay.
Okay. So, Suzanne Scurlock Durana is the author of Full Body Presence and developer of the Healing from the Core curriculum. She teaches consciousness awareness and its relationship to the healing process internationally. She inspires healthcare practitioners, coaches, teachers, and caregivers to stay energized using her life-changing tools for stress management and full body presence. So please welcome to Just Energy Radio, Suzanne Scurlock Durana. Hey, Suzanne, thank you so much for coming on the show.
You're very welcome. It's my pleasure.
I'm looking forward to this. Your book is just wonderful.
Thank you.
I mean, it covers a lot of information. It's just written really, I think, straightforward, and I thought it was really good. So let's get into some meat here. So the book is called Full Body Presence. What do you mean by that?
Well, number one, this work that I do is something that we don't have a lot of language for, so I really had to begin the book with a whole series of definitions, the terminology that I was using, because it's not in our lexicon, it's not there. So the definition of full body presence is the ability to feel all parts of your body with a good flow of healthy energy moving through you. And it also includes a connection to your inner and outer resources for health and a good sense of personal boundaries. Full body presence is also the foundation of a strong therapeutic presence, which is why it's so important for caregivers of all kinds.
And so can you kind of bring that concept a little more home, maybe give people an example of what, being in a full body presence would be like to them?
Yes. Full body presence means that in any given moment, you have a sense of where you are in space and how you're doing. As I'm standing here in my room at Esalen, I'm realizing that I kind of ran up the hill after lunch to get to this interview, and so I can feel my body more. Number one, because I just exercised, but also checking in, I can feel how I feel full, I feel rested, and things feel good. When I first arrived here, I felt tired. I needed to show up at a class and be a certain way, and I was pretty exhausted from having traveled almost like 19 hours to get here. And just the capacity to say, okay, I'm really tired. I need to slow down right now and sink in and really ground myself and feel what would feel most nourishing and nurturing for me right now. That enables me to come back to my full body presence when I get depleted. But full body presence I think of as the capacity to really live in all the cells of our body. So in any given moment you can say, here's how I am. Here's how I am. So what action do I need to take in order to be most effective and most helpful in my world, and for myself as well as for other, the people that I love in my world. Yeah.
That is very cool. And I'm going to just throw this out. I mean, it sounds like, you were feeling a little bit fatigued and a little bit stressed, and many of us feel that way.
Yeah.
But I think there are a lot of people, and I'm just kind of going into, there are a lot of people in this country that experience, like, adrenal fatigue. It is so common. And to me, when people are experiencing that, they don't know when to stop. They don't know when to take that step back and say, I'm just really tired. Let's not go out tonight. Let's lay on the sofa and watch TV, or I think I'm just going to read a book for a while.
I'm going to build a fire and just sit and look at it. Yeah. Actually, I talk a lot in my trainings about adrenal fatigue because I personally believe we are hitting a sort of a crisis point in the exhaustion level of most people in our country. That so many people, if they are not working or they're running to find a job. If they are working, many times they're doing the job of 2 or 3 people because they've been downsized, and so it is. And then you have on top of whatever work we're doing, we have people who are trying to be a full-time parent and work, and maybe even take care of an aging parent, which is really, really a tough thing to do. So I find a lot of people in my classes, in my workshops, when I come in the door, I'll often do something we call an adrenal hold that helps people to drop back into their bones, helps their adrenals to relax and start to fill up. And I'll tell you, it brings people more present into the room faster than almost anything I can think of. And it is a major issue. It's interesting, as this book has come out now.
And I just made that up.
Yeah, did you really? Oh, my word. I mean, that is like one of my bandwagons is adrenal fatigue. And how do you break into the cycle of fight, flight, freeze that so many people are operating from behind their consciousness? Like they're not even really aware of it. And there's even for those of us that are conscious of it and really working with it, in our daily lives, we go so fast and we have so much to do that there's a quality of just, do you know how to slow down and let all focus go? Let yourself get diffuse. Let yourself spread out. Because that is another thing that keeps us from really being able to take in what is around us, that is really nurturing and helpful. Yeah.
There was an article that I read online, and it was, I forget who it was. I should have, printed it or something. And the title of it was, Why I Returned My iTablet, the little new Apple mini.
My iPad, right.
iPad.
My iPad.
And he says all this really great stuff about the iPad. It works good, it's this and that, and it does this and it does that. He goes, but when it really came down to it, I didn't need to be sitting in bed and waking up at 2 o'clock in the morning to check my email.
Yeah.
People don't even think how much energy, going and doing those kind of tasks, going on Facebook, checking your email, doing this, sucks from you, not to mention the EM, the electromagnetic radiation from it.
Exactly. So the real question, though, is for him, it's not the iPad's fault that he's waking up at 2 a.m. I mean, he needs to take a little self-responsibility here. I don't care if I have an iPad. I'm not going to wake up at 2 a.m. and check my email. It's just not okay. Do you know what I'm saying? There's some...
But I think some of that is, he was just talking to the addictive quality.
Absolutely. The addictive quality of being connected to your technology. Yeah, no, that is true. And that is also an issue in our world today. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
So one of the things that I would make the assumption is that we're not experiencing this full body presence because we, for some reason, shut down. And so what causes that to happen in the first place?
Well, I really believe that when people are born, when we come out, if we don't have a traumatic delivery or something traumatic about our gestation period, like a mom on drugs or something like that, that when we're first born, all of our receiving receptors are open. I mean, I think this is one reason why people love to hold newborn babies. Every cell in their body, they are living in. They're just right there. They're very present. And as we grow up, and it doesn't really matter what culture you grow up in these days, particularly Western culture, it really trains us to not pay attention to our bodies and to really pay attention to the mind and how we think and how we organize and how we get things done. And there's a quality of denigrating the body. And the problem with that is that most of our deep wisdom lives in the body. And it is meant to be in concert with the mind all the time. Not the mind telling the body what to do, but the heart telling the body how it's feeling about a particular situation. And the mind then taking that information and making a decision about what to do based on the information it's getting from the heart and the gut, and maybe even from the legs. There is, in craniosacral therapy, we talk about the cellular intelligence of the body, and we really, really have found that every single part of us has its own wisdom when you know how to tune into it and ask about it and really listen to it. Yeah.
And so, one of the things that you talk about in the book is how, we have these life situations where we're having an experience and then someone turns around and says, oh, well, don't feel that way, or, well, that's silly, or, one of the things, I deal with is ghosts. One of my many intuitive little branches. But with children, when they experience, little playmates or the boogeyman in the closet, it's like they're experiencing something. I believe they're experiencing something, but most parents are like, nah, that's your imagination. Don't be scared back to sleep.
Right. Absolutely. And not only that, but let's take this a step further. Mommy, my belly hurts. No, your belly doesn't hurt. You're fine. Get dressed, we got to get you to school. Or, your parents don't say to you, take a minute and just drop inside and tell me about your belly. Even the best of parents will say, okay, let's call the doctor and let them tell us about your belly. Not you have knowledge, you have a connection to your belly, but, the other way around. So it's really kind of an interesting dance, how we are trained to not trust what we get. And then we start to leave our body.
Word.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just the appropriate word, trained, because we're not.
Yep. We are trained to not trust. We're trained to think, and think well. And the people that are most successful are your best thinkers, best strategists, best point people on that front. Yeah, absolutely. So this process, and it's so simple, but it has such a profound effect. And it's very interesting because I'm here at Esalen Institute right now, and I'm doing a month-long workshop with some of their staff. They're people that have been here for a while and some that are just arriving. And one of the things, as I'm here, there's another wonderful meditation teacher here. His name is Dan Brown, and Lama Podran is working with him. She's also a wonderful meditation teacher. And both of them have a copy of my book, and I was talking with her about it at dinner the other night, and it was so clear. She said, and one of the students that she has that's also one of my students said to her, most people won't make it all the way to Dan Brown and Lama Podran because it's such a rigorous path, this Buddhist meditation path. But he said, but they will make it to full body presence, because what's in that book and in the audio is so easy to do, and it's put in language that is so concrete that anyone can follow it. It's not a hard thing to do. And then maybe people will get to, these deeper meditation systems in the end because they have more capacity to drop inside. We are really trained to move out of our bodies and to pay a lot of attention to what's going on in the world around us, but to lose the sense of our insides, our own inner landscape is the way I speak about it in the book. Getting in touch with your inner landscape.
Well, and I think when you're talking about it from a health perspective, when we're not paying attention to our inner landscape, there can be all kinds of stuff going on inside of us. And the first time we kind of get a notion that there might be something wrong is when we're sick and admitted to the hospital or have a heart attack or, have our blood work done and find out we're diabetic or have high blood pressure or something.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's kind of, it is kind of crazy, in the final chapter of my book where I have the chapter that I call the Imagine chapter. It's really about what would life be like here on planet Earth if people really listened to their inner wisdom. And it was fun to write that. It was almost like a poem. I felt like it was just sort of pouring through. Imagine what it would be like here if you woke up in the morning and your first thing you did was kind of to check in with your mind, body, spirit and see how you're feeling that day and see what all the different systems of your body need in order to operate optimally. That question is not one that most of us are raised with. It just isn't. So, yeah.
Can you use this system in your relationships with other people? So let's say I'm supposed to, like you and I are supposed to go have lunch, but I check in and I get the, I'm not really checking in, but inside there's this thing going on that's going, you really don't want to go. You just want to sit on the sofa or whatever. There's something going on inside that I obviously am not paying attention to because I don't have full body presence. But if I had full body presence, would that change decisions that I made in relationship to maybe job choices, or in my interactions with other people? I mean, it becomes a huge new world.
Absolutely. I was actually just working with one of the women that's becoming one of my presenters, and so she was really thinking in her life about examples of how her relationship with her work changed when she began to really make a strong commitment to her own full body presence. And she spoke about the fact that years ago, she's a massage therapist and a cranial person, and years ago she had a job that was, working for a major spa corporation. And like most major spa corporations in those days, they just were really running her ragged, just work. There was no real checking in with how she was feeling. And she said that it really burned her out. She actually managed to last 7 years. But at the end of that 7 years, she thought, because she was so fried, that it was really about body work, that she didn't belong in body work or healing. So she quit work, went off, found me, did some trainings that gave her some skills for dropping inside and really listening. And just recently they went back to the town that they live in, and she looked around and she realized that she wanted to be putting her hands on people again. And only this time, because she's really trusting her insides and listening, she looked around and found a nice, quiet little health center where she can be a practitioner on her own hours, doing the number of sessions that feel right to her. And she said it's just night and day how her life feels now. She was really run by her fear of not being good enough, fear of not having enough money, fear of. You can go on and on. And when that's no longer running your life, when I can drop inside, there's a quality of knowing and steadiness about who I am that is very delightful, because I don't hesitate when something feels right. I also can really clean up my relationships. So if I've got a relationship that isn't working for me, I can sit down and drop inside and feel into it and think about it and figure out what isn't working for me and then go make a request, taking responsibility for my part of it. I can go make a request to change the relationship so it does work for me, so it's not draining. Sometimes that's about limiting the amount of time that you spend with someone or limiting the quality of time that you're spending with someone. Sometimes it's about wanting to spend more time with someone. But if I can't drop inside, I don't know that. I don't have that capacity. When I can drop inside myself and really listen, not to my anxiety and that superficial level of worry, but to my deep knowing, the wisdom in my body, then I make much better decisions about work, about relationship, all different kinds of things. Yeah. Thanks for asking that.
Well, I mean, I feel like it's just kind of a core thing. There are so many people that are trying to find themselves. They're trying to become authentic. I hear that a lot from people. It's like, and I don't know if this is an age thing or if it's an energy thing, but there are so many people that come and it's like they're confused because they don't know what they're supposed to do.
Right.
But they don't really have the tools to go inside and ask those questions.
That's right. That's right. And one of the fun things that I have seen as this book has come out is because this work is, the full body presence work is not the end-all, be-all, but it is the foundational level of what needs to happen for everyone in terms of really coming home to who you are and knowing what you want to do. So I have found that there's a niche for the skills that I teach with life coaches, with leadership coaching, because they do an incredible job of teaching people how to ask the right questions, how to take the right action steps for themselves, all of that. But they're missing the body piece in their training. And when I get into working with psychotherapists, really good psychotherapists, all of them will say, you know what, we do such a good job of creating a container where people's emotions can be safe, but we don't have this body piece. You're giving us a body piece so that it goes in much more deeply. With healthcare people, that was really where I began my work because I teach craniosacral therapy. It gives people healthier boundaries. They know when to slow down and stop. They know how to refill quickly just when they get depleted, and then they recognize the times when they need to slow down for longer. Really take a week, 10 days, 2 weeks, 3 weeks off because they really need that kind of rest. It's been very, very exciting how much of the culture is just right on the edge of needing this so much. It's been fun. It really has.
Yeah, I mean, I think that people have talked about it in different ways. I mean, I've even talked about it in different ways. This is just like, boom, right there in your face. This is what it is. And it's like, well, that's what it is.
That's right. And you could take it and slide it right into whatever you do, and it would just make what you do go in easier and deeper. Mm-hmm. That's the interesting piece. This is what Lama Podrum was saying to me. She said, this full body presence stuff helps people to get that core level of how to drop inside. So all these incredible altered, expanded states that we know how to take people to, it goes in deeper because they're in their bodies. They're not just in their heads. So,
and it makes it so that the person that you're working with, I mean, I do a lot of, intuitive work, but obviously tied with that, there's a whole lot of counseling that goes on. And by helping people be in their bodies, it makes it so that they can hear what you're saying and process it on a much deeper level.
That's right. That's right. That's exactly right. They have a bigger container to be able to deal with whatever it is. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good thing. That's a really good thing.
Yeah.
So and actually, we're going to be coming up to a break like in a minute. I'm just giving you a heads up. Okay. I'm just going to throw this out. Hopefully this will be a quick answer, and it'll in within our little 2-minute time frame.
Okay.
when we get into the body, you were talking about your friend who is hitting all of that fear. By getting into the body, does it help us or create a vehicle to clear out the old issues? I mean, it might give you visibility and it might give you the opportunity to acknowledge them, but will it also create channels for the healing to happen?
Yes. The way that I see that, and actually this is a much longer answer, so maybe we should do it after the break, but it does. Yes, it absolutely does, and I would love to talk with you more about that, because that quality of creating a container is what you're talking about, and then within that container, each person has a capacity to move and heal and grow and create in a particular way.
Well, see, that's a great segue, and we'll come back and talk about that more after the break. How's that?
Sounds good.
Okay. I'm Dr. Rita Louise. We're talking to Suzanne Scurlock Durana. Her website is healingfromthecore.com. We'll be back with the Mind Yoga question after these words from our sponsors.
Just Energy Radio with your host, Dr. Rita Louise, will return right after these messages.
Go deep inside yourself and venture into the realm of the unconscious mind with my Meditating on the Kabbalah guided imagery audio CDs. Discover who you are and what you want in life. Meditating on the Kabbalah can help you to open, clear, and revitalize the energetic pathways of your subtle being. They will support you in your spiritual quest by helping you to access the profound insights and inner guidance you need as you work in alignment with your highest good. Let them help you to release negative thoughts and emotions and clear away any limitations that may be keeping you from experiencing your full potential. Walk down the path to health, healing, understanding, and enlightenment with Meditating on the Kabbalah. Order your copy today at www.soulhealer.com. That's right, that's www.soulhealer.com.
Hi, I'm James Altayanchik, the Black Knight of Talk Radio. Listen to Dr. Rita's Soul Healer Moment live each third Sunday night of the month on Feet to the Fire. www.feet2fire.com for more information.
Hi, I'm Dr. Rita Louise, the host of Just Energy Radio and the founder of the Institute of Applied Energetics. Start a new career today on the leading edge of alternative health and healing. The Institute of Applied Energetics can help you develop the specialized skills you need to work as an energy medicine practitioner, intuitive counselor, or professional medical intuitive. Besides our outstanding technical instruction, our programs also support you in creating and building a successful business in this rapidly growing field. Be a catalyst for changing the way healthcare is done around the world. Contact the Institute of Applied Energetics right away or visit appliedenergeticsinstitute.com.
And now back to Just Energy Radio with Dr. Rita Louise.
Hello and welcome back to Just Energy Radio. We'll be back with Suzanne talking more about full body presence, but it's the music, which means it's time for this week's Mind Yoga question. So remember, the first person to provide the correct answer by sending an email to justenergyradio@yahoo.com can win this week's prize, which is a copy of Myrna Lamb's The Astrology of Great Sex. So remember, email justenergyradio@yahoo.com. But here's the question. In astrology, this term means the angular distances between planets and other sensitive points on a chart and is measured in degrees, minutes, and sometimes seconds of an arc. So this term describes the angular distances between planets and other sensitive points on a chart and is measured in degrees, minutes, and sometimes seconds of an arc. If you know the answer, if you think you know the answer, if you sort of maybe think you know the answer, send an email to justenergyradio@yahoo.com. And don't forget, if you're listening to the show in the archive, you can also try to win. We have had winners come out of archive listeners that have sent an email after the show first aired. And remember, it's a book about sex, The Astrology of Great Sex. You can find out if you're a great lover or your lover's a great lover. Oh, but you probably already know that part. Anyway, let's get Suzanne back on the air. And I know I'll be hearing about that one later.
But you had fun doing it.
I always have fun doing this show.
Great.
So before the break, we were starting to talk about how, by getting into your body and becoming present with yourself, that it can help you to heal and move past some of your, I'm going to say, old programming.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And one of the things that I talk about, one of the principles that's true of full body presence, is if we take this theory or this experience that most people have of really not being awake and aware inside their bodies, and if you then take that out and you say, okay, one of the reasons why I probably can't deal with this trauma that happened last week or last year or 3 years ago or 5 years ago is because my body could not deal with it at the time. The size that it was, whatever energetically size that it was overwhelming. And so we just have to pack it down and lock it away. And in doing that, what then happens is that it gets under pressure and it becomes a place that everything, and we have to work around it. So old traumas become, Dr. Upledger's concept of an energy cyst is really, I have found to be excellent, which is that the body kind of locks it away. Well, how do we get back to those places and open them up and reintegrate them, get them back in the flow of our systems? One of the ways to do that is to help people to get a larger sense of their container, really to be able to feel their body and the container of their body, so that if I can feel my feet on the ground and I can feel my bones and I can feel my own presence, it is not as scary to revisit and to hold in a loving way in this present moment some past trauma. If I don't have any additional resources, then it's just like a bad trip. It's just not fun because it's just re-traumatizing. But if I have new resources and if the container of my being is large enough, I am able to hold trauma that I previously was not able to really even think about and hold it in a healing way so that I can integrate it and resolve it and keep moving forward in my world. Yeah. And so really what we're talking about then is can you increase the size of your container? And the container, in my terminology, is your body and the energy field that runs through it and around it. Is your container large enough to hold this trauma so that you can heal it in this present moment? And if it is, you'll be able to do that. If not, you would have to just shut it down again and for a little while longer until you build a container large enough. But oftentimes, people in my trainings will write to me long after they've left my trainings and they say, oh, my God, this happened or that happened. Something really traumatic. The story in the book about the woman who had someone break in and rob her and tie her up, she was just totally amazed at how she was able to stay calm and grounded and actually talk the guy down so that he actually did not harm her at all, other than, being pretty terrifying for several hours while he roamed around the apartment trying to find things to steal. But she was able to stay grounded, to stay present, to stay calm, and to convey that to him. So his agitation calmed down, and finally he left and didn't harm her. And I've had story after story after story from people about circumstances in their lives where when they had the larger, steadier container, they were actually able to get through something that they'd never been able to do before, things that had felt overwhelming and awful. The same is true for bringing back to mind or to your heart or wherever traumas that happened in the past. Once you have a full container, you're capable of holding those and healing them. So those parts of yourself that you were locked out of then become healed parts of you. And I think that's kind of a key piece in my work. There's a wonderful quote that I'd love to read you if I could from page 80 in the book. Okay. It really speaks to really the heart of how I work and really what it's about. So it goes like this. The energy that truly allows the alchemy of deep transformation to occur is the energy of love. Love in the sense of agape, the ancient, all-encompassing, unconditional love of God, Goddess, Christ, Buddha, Great Spirit, or any other name given to the compassionate source of life. Agape brings us into a deep connection with the universe. Again, allow yourself to deeply feel this love in your body, not simply to imagine or visualize it, although it may have visual components. The energy of love ignites the alchemy of true healing, transforming tight, painful, wounded places into connected, healed components of who we are. When this alchemy is complete, out of our deepest wounds can come our greatest gifts.
Powerful.
Yes.
And I'm just going to reflect what I'm hearing and kind of give an example of what I think I'm hearing you say, like a very simplistic example that I think the listeners, if they're not totally tracking, because you're talking, I don't want to say technical, but a little bit. But it would, we're talking about experiences, and I'm really about what is the experience? How can I relate to that experience? Mm-hmm. And so the experience, I think that people could recognize, except we're talking probably even on a deeper and more profound level, is you're at work, you're totally stressed out, and you finally just take that deep breath and close your eyes and go, oh. And then it's like you're not stressed anymore. Something changes, and you can now deal with life and deal with what's going on, but something deep in you shifts with that breath. And I think everyone listening can relate to that experience.
Absolutely.
As having that experience, not necessarily controlled, but,
well,
but having it.
Yes. And also, if your listeners right now would want to play with a little bit of what I'm talking about, just a hair of it, if you're driving in the car, don't close your eyes. But take a moment and think about something that's got you a little agitated. Not your atomic bomb, but just something in your life that's got you just a little worried, or it might be something you're trying to keep a list in your head about stuff and you can't quite do it. Okay, and once I have that sense of what that is, and I notice where I feel that in my body, it might be a little tightness in my chest or in my solar plexus, or I might get a little tightness in my neck, wherever it is. Okay, so you notice that, and you just notice how it feels to be caught up in the daily, what about? Okay, and then take a moment, take a breath, and as you exhale, allow your awareness to drop into your spine so that you're feeling your backbone. Whatever you're sitting on, you can even kind of let your back rub a little bit into the chair wherever you are so you can feel your spine. Take another breath. And allow your awareness to drop right down into the sitting bones, whatever you're sitting on, feeling the bones resting, just sinking in to your chair. And we're slowing down time here a little bit, just for a brief period. And then take another breath. And And as you exhale, allow your awareness to travel right on down into your legs. And if you can get as far as your feet, that's wonderful. But allow yourself to feel your feet resting on the floor. And that would mean feeling the sensation of the inside of your shoes, or if you're barefooted, feeling the whatever surface your feet are resting on. It might be a nubbly carpet, or if you're outside, it would be grass, or just feeling the bottom of your feet. What's the sensation of your feet resting on the planet Earth at whatever level? We know we're connected to the Earth all the time by the gravitational field, so I'm just asking you to feel it. Without doing anything, you're connected. One more breath. Yeah, and begin to allow yourself to just feel how that feels in your body. How is it now? And bring back to mind while you're feeling your sitting bones and your feet and your back, whatever it was that was just a little anxiety making. And notice how that feels now compared to how it felt a few minutes ago. Just notice how it feels. And I'm going to ask Dr. Rita Louise to give us feedback here. Were you able to find something, Dr. Rita, that...
Well, I was. I was like going, okay, what's bothering me? What's bothering me? And I just started doing a new web page for somebody else, and we bought this Flash template, and I can't figure out how to make it work. They make me crazy. I went to bed last night going, oh, wait a minute, if I look for this and then I just copy these files over there, then poof, everything should work. Yeah, that's so smart. 5 o'clock this morning, didn't work. So
you got the perfect thing. You got the perfect thing. It's like you really got your mind going. Brrr. Okay, so then what happened when you dropped back in?
So when I checked in, it was kind of sitting as some anxiety in my heart. And my butt hurts from sitting in this chair. And I noticed that when I checked in with that. And, I'm not experiencing the anxiety. Actually, I was like, well, I think when the show's over, I'm going to go do something relaxing and let go of the work part for me. So that felt good. Except I'm getting a little bit of a headache. And I think it's because I was just doing so much processing on that.
Yeah.
Which is, one of those good, it's finally let go kind of headaches.
Yeah.
Which sounds
that's
weird,
interesting.
but, yeah.
Well, and it also sounds as though you actually were able to see it in a slightly different way once you were in your body and looking at it. Is that true?
Well, now, if I could figure out how to make it work, I'd be so happy. If I could see that, channel that in, that would be great.
Yeah. So try sitting and feeling your feet on the ground as you're sitting looking at the computer, because whatever it is you need to do may very well just pop right into your conscious awareness, which is what people often say happens. It's like, oh, 2 other things that I needed to do that I'd totally forgotten about. When I sat back, widened my lens, just felt my back, and my feet, and my sit bones, all of a sudden, these ideas just ping, popped right in, and I was off and running again, and I was fine. So it is interesting how this works, but it enables, it's just a simple technique, but it's very, very helpful for enabling you to be able to drop back, widen out, and see more options, and oftentimes ease up the sense of tension. Yeah.
That's very cool, and it was very simple and very fast. And for the amount of time that we spent doing that, it's something that you could do at your desk at work, as you said, not in your car. The closing your eyes.
Well, you can do it in the car. You just can't close your eyes. So,
right.
But now here's the other thing, though. The book, the Full Body Presence, Learning to Listen to Your Body's Wisdom, has 3 audio downloads where I walk the reader through the process of how to drop inside, how to get your curiosity on board, what to do with your judgmental mind. The book talks about that a whole lot more, because the judgmental mind will trip you up time after time after time. And so the process of dropping that, learning how to drop inside and practicing, number one, how to notice where you are present and where you're not. Number two, how then to fill up with nourishing, nurturing energy that is really for you, nourishing and nurturing. I don't tell you what to fill up with. I just ask you questions so that you can learn how to discern what's most nourishing and nurturing, because for everybody it's different. And then the third audio track, which has 3 parts, is about learning to reconnect with the parts of yourself that you're disconnected from. Things that we were talking about earlier, places where we've had trauma, places where we've had pain, things that we don't know how to work with or be with yet. How do I learn to reconnect with them and get them integrated back into my body so that I have all of myself on board to work with? And that's the 3 audios. And it's really the heart of the book, because I was originally an oral tradition person. I loved just to, get in a circle of people and just start sharing what it is that I know and whatever spirit would bring through in terms of how to really be present in your body. So writing it all down was one big task. And then it really required that it have an audio component, because it's really necessary for most people to be able to drop in. They really need a guide the first round through. And then once it becomes really part of your habit of how you are present in your life, you can pull it up with a moment's notice. But you need to make it a habit. It's very important. Yeah.
Well, as I've said, I wrote a book called The Power Within, and it has a lot of energy medicine techniques. But there's some basic meditations that you really need to train your body to get your energy running and blah, blah, blah. And and there's an audio CD that goes with it, and people are like, well, why would I need this? It's like, well, it's really hard to meditate and read at the same time. And so I think that it's really there's other things that once you understand the basic technique, that you can open your eyes and go, okay, yeah, I need to do that, and kind of get back into that place. But if you're learning how to get into that place, you're reading the book, and it just makes it complicated.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
Let me ask this question, because we're like, you're fun. Like, but we're running out of time. Because this is so experiential. I mean, I teach, psychic development, train people to be medical intuitives, and one of the things that I harp on is that when you have a psychic experience, it's not about reading a book. It's about having the experience, being in your body and experiencing. And so working with something like this, because there are so many people that are really interested in developing their intuition and stuff like that, would this be a good tool to help facilitate that? Or for people that do energy work and healers, for them to get more into their body so that they can interact with their clients and actually pick up more or send more?
Yeah, no, that's absolutely true. And I have had across the years just innumerable people with a lot of raw psychic talent, and some people that had done some training and maybe were making a living at it. And they'll often come into my classes very, very depleted with some kind of a chronic illness that actually stems from the depletion that happens when you try and work psychically without a body. Without really being able to feel your body. So, and I have had, actually one of my teachers is very clairvoyant, and she said that, because I'm very kinesthetic and auditory, I hear a lot, I feel a lot when I'm working with people, she really sees it. And she said that for her, what it did was it gave her a foundation that, number one, enabled her not to burn out. That was key, number one. Number two, it gave her a steadiness, and it gave her a lot more clarity when she was doing a psychic reading for someone, because she began to figure out what was hers and what was theirs. So there was less of her filter in the psychic reading, and it was less exhausting to give. So, yes, I would say people doing energy work, you absolutely need. And I know that the shamans that I've studied with and the work that I've done in indigenous cultures, that they are masterfully trained in embodiment before they get into the leave the body travel, time travel, space travel. They know how to be very deeply embodied so that they leave a good chunk of themselves behind when they do that kind of work, and they know how to return to their bodies, and they recognize the psychic challenge and the energy challenge that it gives the body when you get out of your body and have to leave it. And, in ancient indigenous spiritual traditions, like if a healer would do some sort of deep healing for someone, they would then go off in the woods. The tribe would take care of their family, and they'd go off in the woods and get themselves back for days afterwards. So there is a quality of that whole arena of healing that really, really requires embodiment. And yet, most are not teaching it. It sounds like you are, which is a really wonderful thing.
Very
Just
much.
feeling the experience is huge, yes.
Well, and I think a lot of people, when I work with people, I would say that at least 70%, probably more, I'm being very kind here, are not in their bodies. But when you look at what's actually going on in their bodies, it's just too crowded with stuff.
Yeah.
I sometimes will have my clients visualize that, they and their life is like a garage, and they get to look around at what's in this garage. And some of them, they barely even got a little walking path to get through, and we start doing work at cleaning out the garage to make some room for them to be in their bodies. Yeah,
and I would say that analogy is wonderful. I would say most often those places that people are locked out of psychically, that's the stuff in the garage that you're talking about. They've got all these little places where trauma is and worries and are locked away, and they can't get to it. It's just, number one, they don't have enough of a container to hold it, and number two, it got locked away for a reason. Thank you very much.
Well, it's in that box, and I don't want to open that box.
Exactly.
It's got that warning tape on it. Don't touch me with the flashing lights. It's like...
Exactly. You remember how scary it was when we were in there last time. We are not going back there. You got it.
Danger, Will Robinson, danger.
Exactly. You got it. So, absolutely, that's true. And that's very compatible, yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I really, like I said, I really enjoyed it. We have 2 minutes left before the music comes up. So any last words for the listeners? Other than buy your book, Full Body Presence?
Absolutely, buy the book. Go to healingfromthecore.com and see whether there's anything in terms of courses or anything else that would really speak to you. I'm here at Esalen Institute in Big Sur, California. I have a class coming up July 25th. And it's been a wonderful, wonderful journey. Life just gets richer and richer, and I would just really encourage your listeners to experiment, to play, to get curious about coming home to their bodies. And go get the book. It's cheap. The audio download is free with the password that's in the book, and you can get going. And everything that Dr. Rita Louise teaches is going to go in easier and faster if you do that. And it sounds like you teach some wonderful, wonderful stuff. Where are you located?
I'm in Dallas, but my training is distance learning, so you can be anywhere in the world and take the training.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful.
It's a very comprehensive, professional-level training program.
Wow.
So if you know nothing, even if you don't even know what a chakra is, it takes you through from beginning to, as my dad would say, being able to hang a shingle on your door and feeling competent to do so.
There you go.
To me, that's a big piece.
Yeah. And in my world, it would be really feeling steady and strong and peaceful in your body, in your own body, really feeling like you belong in your body so that you can feel the vitality and the joy of being alive, as well as able to work through the other parts of life that are not so much fun with grace and ease.
but it also makes it so that the world, you can look at the world in a different way. You know, they're talking, you know, we were talking about 2012 in the first hour, and, you know, the changes that need to happen. And to me, people getting in their body is the change that needs to happen.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you, and you're fun. We'll have to have you back on.
I would
We'll
love
find
to
something
do
else
that.
to talk about. Okay.
Yeah, we could. Sounds great. Thank you.
You're welcome. And that was Susan Scurlock Durana, and her book is Full Body Presence. Her website is healingfromthecore.com. And so next week we have John Welshon coming on talking about when prayers aren't answered. And in the second hour, Jay Allen talking about everything you need to know you already have. So till next week, I'm Dr. Rita Louise. This is Just Energy Radio. Don't forget to enter the Mind Yoga Question of the Week. Until then, be blessed.
Join host Dr. Rita Louise each week at this time for Just Energy Radio. Point your browser to www.justenergyradio.com for more show information and to contact Dr. Rita. Until next time, remember, it's all just energy.